Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
Today we're taking a look at 5 different games. Are any of them good?
Yeah, yes.
All right, some short looks at these games. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. Lindyhop. I did some research for this. I went on YouTube and watched Lindyhop dancing.
Really? Okay, have you tried your foot at it yet?
I have not tried my feet at it. I actually do want to. I've already watched. It's swing dancing, basically. It's a version. I really like it. Anyway, it's a 2-player game in which you and a partner are dancing together with trick-taking. Here's how it plays. In this game, you'll have a start card and a finish card, and you put the other cards in between them randomly to form kind of a path. On top of the path, you put these point tokens on set spots there. You're going to lay out 2 hands of 5 cards each. The cards are of different suits. This card here, the break card, is kind of a wild suit. You'll see there's different suits here that go from 1 to 8. And each person will take one of those cards in hand. One person's the leader, and they'll go first, and they're going to draw a card in their hand, and then they're going to play a card. Now, whatever card they play, the other player, if they have the same suit, must play that suit. So here, for example, I played a 5, they played a 4. We will now move the difference in the numbers. 5 minus 4 is 1. We move 1 space. Since we landed on a point token, we will get it. Some cards have special abilities on them, and those will happen if you are on a card that matches that type when you play it, or if you're on one of these wild cards. In this case, it says, this turn, move back. So maybe that wouldn't have been a good one here. Here, 8 minus 4 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Still get a point token, so that's pretty good. And that's how the game is played. You're going to be moving forward. Sometimes you'll move back. If you play one of these cards, one person's going to be constantly in the lead. Sometimes you'll score double points. That means if you land on a 1 token and get it this turn, you will turn it over and get 2 points. If you both ever play the same number at this in a thing, you'll also take one of your previously scored points and turn it over to get 2. So you're going to keep moving down the path. You need to get to the finish, because if you don't get to the finish before you run out of cards in the deck, then you score 0 points. If you do, though, you'll get this 4 points. If you land on it exactly, you will get 8 points. At that time, you simply add up all the points, and you get yourself some sort of commendation for your score. This game felt calm. For a game that's like Lindyhopping is a really jiving...
Yes, right. It's very energetic.
This game has not had that same energy. You are thoughtfully playing cards.
And at the same time, not that thoughtfully, because I think this is one of those games in which, like you said, it's a trick-taking game, but at the end of every trick, you play a card, I play a card, then we each also draw a card. Which means the information and this sort of deep thought, I know you don't have any of this color, so if I lead this thing, you can't follow suit, then we can make some magic happen. That's just not there. You know, it's simply not enough control to develop into what I thought would hopefully be a thoughtful 2-player trick-taking game.
And unfortunately, another one of those came out this year called Sail.
Yes.
And Sail is also a 2-player cooperative trick-taking game, and that is thoughtful and interesting.
Yes.
And there's a little bit of guessing. I think that this one is okay. I love the art. I love the way it looks. I like the theme. I think it's okay if you take it on a really, really casual level. But at the end, I also don't know what we've accomplished. We've got a score, and all the answers are like, good job, better job, great job. And I feel like this is more of an activity. For me, this is a 5 out of 10. I want to like it more than I do.
I'm also giving it a 5 out of 10. I was hoping for something that would be that would have a few points of decision making, and really there's kind of one. Do we ever back up? And if so, are we going to make it to the end? That's the only time you get a little bit of an infusion of tension. It's like, oh, we need to make sure we get to the end, or we won't score. We'll get nothing. We lose, technically. But the winning on a sliding scale just didn't really feel that interesting to me. I thought there was something there unexplored. This maybe for a casual crowd, like you're saying, Might be an interesting little two-player card game, but I think it's missing something to make it either more casual or more thinky. It gets lost in the middle.
Lindyhop. All right, it's time to cross the street. So, oh look, a crosswalk.
Hey.
Oh, it's hey.
Crosswalk. Great title.
That's what you say to a kid who's like,
oh hey,
jaywalk.
Crosswalk.
So this is a two-player abstract game. Here's how it plays. In this game, this is the starting setup, but you can arrange them differently. Each person is trying to get their folks across the street. On your turn, you have 3 moves, and you can move the same person twice. So, like, I can move the adult 2 times, and then I can move the dog. Now, the dog only moves 1 space at a time. The man moves 1 space. Everyone moves 1 space except the kid. The kid moves 2, but the kid can only move once per turn. The senior can also only move 1 per turn, and they can only move 1 space, and nobody can get in front of them. In fact, if you move and someone's in front of you, they have to move out of the way. The dog can move through people if you have enough moves. So if you have 3, I could go 1, 2, 3. And that's pretty much the game. You're just trying to get your people across, and they're trying to get theirs across. First to do so wins. If both players finish in the same amount of turns, it's a tie. One of my least favorite games in the world is Chinese checkers.
It's a classic.
I know. A lot of people like it. It's just I don't love it because there's that we're slowly walking, jumping past each other, and then like the game starts slow.
It has a terrible curve. That's the thing,
somewhat
right?
interesting middle part,
and then that's it.
Peters out.
Yes.
This feels like they took out the middle part that was interesting, and now it's just
it's just this like. It's nothing. I mean, it takes longer and it's more interesting to sort of learn the different parts.
Yeah, I know.
How does Grandpa walk? The kid, the this, the that. And you play it and go, oh. It's just the only interesting thing is like learning how to play the game, it seems. You're right. There is just no...
It feels like there's a game there somewhere. 2 crowds are coming across a crosswalk. But the only one that's really interesting is the old man.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other people, if you move him in front of someone, they're forced to move out of his way.
Right, which is interesting and thematic. I really like that touch.
Yeah, but other than that, unfortunately, this one's a miss, and for me, kind of a big miss. This is a 4 for me because I just can't find anything. Like you said, the game. I was interested all the way up to the actual playing of it. I was like, that sounds great, but it just doesn't have any oomph for me.
Well, I have my scores written down, thankfully, so that you know I'm being legit. I'm also giving this a 4.
Okay, good. I mean, good that we're not copying each other.
Yeah, while I don't think that middle part of Chinese checkers is fully extinct in this game, I think it's about a minute of play. And then that sort of really languid resolution of like, I move, you move 2, I move 1. Oh, look, 10 turns ago, I could see you were going to win. And what do you know? You did win.
Oh, hey,
There's just
it's over.
It's not interesting. There are so many more interesting abstract games. The theme on this one is sort of, you can smile at it. That's about as good as it gets, and the gameplay isn't fun.
5 Towers is a game about, well, building towers. And side note, if you look carefully at these towers, you'll note more intellectual property infringement than any other 10 games put together.
Oh, at least. Every one of these cards has got some sort of, again, intellectual property thing you'll recognize. Yeah. There's a lot of it there, and it's a big part of playing this game, actually.
Well, mostly, though, the game is abstract. Here's how it plays. 5 Towers is made up of a deck of, well, 5 different tower types. You can tell by the color, and this one apparently is made out of cake, with numbers that go on them from 15 to 0. And you'll have some extra cards depending on the number of players. You'll know if you're going to have cards in a game or not based on the icon at the top. Each round of the game, 5 cards are going to be flipped over in the middle of the table. And then starting with whoever is first player, that person's going to make a bid. So if I was looking at this, I might say 2. The next person has to go higher than me or pass. Each person has 1 chance to bid, unless someone bids 5, in which case they automatically win. Let's say I win with a 2 here. that means I have to take 2 cards. So I would take these 2. The other 3 are going to be discarded. We're going to go through the deck twice, so you might see them again. And I'll put them in front of me. But here's the catch. If I take a 15 later on, I can't put it on top of the 12. It's not worth it for me. The 12 can go on top of the 15, like that. So you're trying to get higher numbers first. Whenever you win a bid, you can destroy a card on top of one of your castles, but that'd be worth negative points at the end of the game. There are a few special cards. A 9 can go on top of lower numbers. An 8 can have higher numbers placed on top of it, and you can tell that by the design of the tower. And a 0, well, not only does it cap it, and you can no longer mess with that tower, but it will double the points of that tower at the end of the game. The game one after deck goes through twice, and you get, this would be 2 points, this would be 1, 2, 3 times 2, 6 points, and this would be 4 points. That's a pretty pathetic score, but at least it's some points. Whoever has the highest points is the winner.
Interestingly enough, I played this with different groups of people.
Yeah.
It's very divisive.
Yeah.
It's such a weird bidding system because you can almost do the bidding system in your head. I can sit there and go, okay, I want 2, but I know Z's going to bid 4, and no one else is going to want 4.
There's no reason not to take them.
So
right.
I can kind of, and yet, I don't know, I enjoy this a lot. I enjoy it, but I think it is sort of flawed by it can just work against some players. I've seen players have terrible games of this.
Yeah.
Or great games, and it just worked out in that regard. And it was my turn to go first, and the perfect 5 cards are laid out for me. And I'm like, 5, I got them. Or even losing 1 to take a -1 point. And the negative points go up in value, but you can take 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah.
But to get a whole bunch,
it
just, I don't know. I like how it looks. I think it's super unique in how it plays. It feels like it's part of a bigger game. That bidding almost. I would love to see that bidding used in a bigger game around it.
I think maybe that's my issue with it, is that it does feel like a small game. It feels like part of something bigger. I think the bidding in this, and I don't hate the game, I just think the bidding in it is really flat. And it's kind of like the main part of the game. But like you're saying, it's sort of, okay, well, I'm okay with, there's no wiggle room. I look at the 5 cards on the table and I go, I'm okay with taking 1 and 2, and I'm okay with taking 3. I am not okay with taking 4 or 5. 3. There's no wiggle room.
I agree.
The next person then goes, oh, I also could have taken 3. Maybe not the same 3 as you, but 3, so pass. And it becomes a little rote that way. It's collecting stuff, and a couple of little powers are interesting on the cards. The game sometimes is, you feel like you're kind of done before the game is done. You're like, well, I'm done. You know, I can't really take too much else. I thought it was weird also that it's the deep print games line, which I thought was for thinkier games is what that line was reserved for. This one didn't come across that way to me. For me, I'm giving this one a 6. I don't think it's a bad game, and I enjoy it casually, but I can definitely see it upsetting some people because it has that sort of, I'm just stuck in a bind, I can't break out feeling. I keep getting hosed in my seating position. You're always before me. You always bid what I want. But if it's a casual group, everybody's sort of just easing into a little card game, then yeah, there's a couple of clever ideas here. And like I said, the card powers, the multiplier at the top and capping that off, that's clever. So for me, it gets a 6.
I like it more than that. I'm giving it a 7. I realize and I see those things, and it's just fun for me anyway.
Yeah.
The building the towers, I enjoy that. The 8 and 9 things are interesting, although they're oddly numbered.
Yeah.
I would have I would have made them the 7 and 10, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would have been more of a like, oh, a 7 can have any number go on top of it or underneath. You know, I would have just switched them out. But I don't know. Every time I do it, it's fun, it's interesting, and it feels different. Not enough that I'm going to want to play it with everybody. And again, there's some people here who really dislike it. But I enjoyed it enough. So that's 5 towers. HUND is a trick-taking game. Now, while this is a new printing, you told me it's not a new game.
It is not. This was a game from, I want to say 2013, called Ebbs, or Ebbs, E-B-B-E-S. Same game from a very small publisher, just basically self-published. But the game is the exact same, yes.
Yeah, so this is a trick-taking game where trump and everything else is determined while you play it. Let me show you.
In this game, players are trying to score points. You have a point tracker here. You can see you can actually get negative points, a bone, and let everyone know what color you are. There'll be a deck here shuffled, and in each round you're going to turn over a number here. So here the number is 1. This is going to matter. You have a deck of cards, and the composition of the deck here, there's 5 suits in a deck, is going to be based on a number of players. But it's like a normal trick-taking game. If I lead with a color, everyone else has to follow suit, and whoever plays the highest number of that color is going to win the trick, unless there's a trump involved. The first person to play a number that matches the number that was turned over here, that color becomes the trump color, and we'll stick that here to show that that color is now trump. The next number 1 to be played makes the cards of that color worth a point. As the fourth color, the fourth one, whoever plays this number, those are going to be worth -1 point. The middle one is a little different, rather than being positive or negative. If you have the most of these, in this case it's blue, the most blues you get no points, the fewest blues you get no points, everyone else gets 3 points. And then finally the last one, which is automatically done when the fourth one is figured out, whoever has the most of these cards will determine who goes first in the next round. That's it. You play till all the cards are gone, and everyone's going to take the cards they've gotten, and these are worth nothing, positive, negative, possibly 3 points. And then you score by moving your tokens here. And you're trying to get the most amount of points is the winner. There's some variants, and their cards can go over 5 that are here, but that's the base game. I like the artwork of this, I like the components of this, and I like the ease of teaching this one, actually.
Yeah.
It doesn't flow as smoothly as the teach goes, though, mostly because people are trying to figure out just what on earth is going on.
It takes a little bit to wrap your head around what you're doing. Once you've got that, though, I think the game is actually simpler than a lot of its brethren, especially in this day and age with the plethora of trick-taking games we have. This one is pretty simple, really.
There's another game out there that's very popular in the trick-taking world, Niet, which just has some similarities to, although in Niet, you control what happens. In HUND, I feel like the control is much slighter. Yes, I can control which one is trump, but if you force me to play that card out of my hand on turn 1, I didn't really have a choice. You know what I mean? I don't feel like the control of what becomes what. You're like, well, I don't have any of the 3s, and 3 is the number this round, so I don't know what's going to happen.
That's fair. That's fair. It does feel a little sort of play by the seat of your pants. The trade-off there, I would say, and I like Niet, though I've cooled on it, but it is a much slower-paced game where you have to, before you even play tricks, you go through that phase of like, this will not be trump. You sort of do this reverse cancellation.
Sure, I don't know that I think that's too long in Niet, actually.
It's kind of long. In this one, I like that shuffle up and play. And you're never quite sure when someone's going to play the next number that decides something. It's breezy, it plays quickly, it doesn't have particularly large amounts of control, but I like this one. And it manages to find that sweet spot, which keeps getting harder and harder, of being a new trick-taking game, or one that feels different, and isn't convoluted to the point of exclusivity, which is how you can, of course, make a new trick-taking game. You can always make a new one that is different, by complicating and complicating, and eventually it's like, look, new, also unplayable. This is clean. I like that about it.
I agree, but it just misses the mark for me. This one's a 6.5. I like it. I mean, if you said let's play it, oh yeah, sure, we'll play it. I just don't, when I'm done, I was like, well, I think I lost because I'm bad, but I don't know. Maybe I also don't know that I love the there's only the slightest tilt towards positive points in this game.
Yeah.
Just the slightest bit. I would have wished that there was more positives. It would have felt like there was more forward climbing, but you can just have a bad hand and undo your previous one. So
yeah, that's true. I gave the original game Eebs or Eebies I rated that one a 7. I'm coming in just slightly higher for the production quality here. 7.5 for me. The game holds up. I haven't played it in many years, or hadn't played it in many years, and I thought it held up well. I like this production, the animal thing, the dogs thing. It's kind of a weird theme, but the card quality, the look of it all, I think is nice. Yeah, this is a neat one. I certainly recommend it. If you are on a trick-taking kick right now and missed this the first time around, I say check it out. 7.5 from me.
There you go. That's HUND. Time Jumpers is, well, two things. One, it's from Simply Fun. Simply Fun is sort of the easiest way to describe it. It's like a Tupperware for board games. You can go to someone's house, have a party. They've been making games for a while. A lot of people haven't heard of them. They're not known. But this is actually a reprint. You said you played an earlier version of this game.
Yeah, so this is a reprint of a game called 20th Expedition, 20th Century, which came out from Kowali. And in fact, I believe Mike and I reviewed that printing of that game. This is I wouldn't call it a reprint. I would call it a slight rework. It's very similar. But they did change some things in here that matter.
Yeah, so the theming is essentially you're going through time, blah, blah, blah. Think more of along the line, forget the theme in a sense, although the cards show it, but think of it like an advanced Racco of sorts, sort of. Yeah. I'll show you. Gameplay is pretty simple. You're going to have this token, and on your turn, you're going to take one of these cards that are randomly placed in these different sections. So I'll take an invention, so I might take this Rubik's Cube from 1980, and I'm going to place that on my board. That card is then going to be replaced, and then I'm going to have to move. Now, you have three options when you move. You can move either one space in either direction, or the color of the card you took. I took a purple card. I can go to that spot, which is in case sometimes you might even be able to stay on the same spot. If this person Discoveries picks the blue, they might say, you know what, I'm going to stay on Discoveries for the next turn. When you place these cards on your board, they're going to stay wherever you place them, although you have an option, you have a token to move them once. By the way, it shows you all the different colors and all the different cards that are in the century. At the top, you want to put one card of every different color, all 6 categories, but you want to place them in chronological order. So 1980 would be a bad choice to place here. Maybe I would place it in the second to the last slot. Here you're going to pick one color and have 3 cards of the same. Here you want as large of a gap between them as possible, and here you want to get as close to 1950 as possible. And if you can't place a card anywhere, you put it down here where it's -1 point. When you accomplish a goal, let's say you get all 6 cards in century spread, they're in chronological order, then you'll take the top token of the corresponding pile. There's different piles that are going to be worth different amounts of points, and the first person to do them will get the most points, or the person who's closest to them. The points are here. And the game's going to end after 12 turns, and you'll add up all your points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. I do like how the game looks. I like how each decade has different, fonts for it, the colors. There's the facts on there. You don't need all that stuff because basically it's very abstract. I need a yellow 1917.
Right, I need something in the 70s or later. Boom. Yeah.
But I do like how it looks, and I think the ease of play is pretty simple. You can say, I'll go here, or jump to the color I took. I'm taking this color, and then where do you put on your board? But the fact is, once you put on your board, you have stopped playing with everybody else at that point.
Sure. I'm
now putting my board. The only time it matters is you want to maybe beat someone else to get the points.
Right, there's a little bit of competition for that, and then of course some cards you might really want this one card, and you're hoping nobody jumps in there and takes it from you. There's that sort of turn angst a little bit. The production here I think is very nice. It has that, like you were saying, sort of toes the line between educational but fun, kind of mass market feel. It does that well. I think the things that changed that make this an improvement for me, the scoring. I thought in the original game, Expedition 20th Century, was very flat scoring. Everything had this feeling of, I do this first, I get 6 points. You do it second, you get 5. Other category, you did this first, you get 5 points. I did it second, I get 4 points. Everything was like that. And so I had this mushy feeling of, doesn't really matter how well I do, I'm going to get about 2 points more or less than you.
That was going to be my complaint about this one. I felt like this does that to some degree. It doesn't do that with everything, but it's
better than the original. They changed a decent amount of little things to find some wiggle room in it. I'm telling you, if you thought that this one did it, that first one really had... It was on the edge of like a fun activity, and I did enjoy playing it, but it felt activity-esque because there wasn't enough differentiation, that tension, that, ooh, I really want to complete this or do that. Those points are going to matter. It didn't feel like it mattered as much. They also added a couple of card types in here.
The jump cards.
The jump cards are brand new, and they removed a couple of cards from the original one that were confusing cards. They were in the middle, 1950, I guess. Behaved as a wild card, something. They took a couple of cards out. Good job there. They were just confusing.
Yeah, the only other complaint I have about the game, and it's fine, it's fun, you're building a little table in front of you. Mm-hmm. It's almost too easy. Like, for you to put things in order, you can kind of guesstimate, and it's going to get a little trickier, honestly, with the more players involved, because more people might take the cards you want. But if Z takes 19-15, and my spread was 14-18, I will likely find the other card somewhere if I look for it. Yes, you still won't get a perfect board, possibly, but it's achievable. I wish it was harder to do a perfect board.
It is very achievable. I think you're right, and that is one of the things that's a drawback for me. You never run into that much trouble. It's like on the last card or two, maybe. You're right. It's very easy to do.
But it's fun. It is. I hate to use the educational word, but it is. I mean, you play this with kids, and you can look at all these events, and this is when it happened. It's a way you can even subtly teach important dates to kids.
Yeah.
Because they're going to remember that date with that item. But for me, it's interesting. I like it. I play it, but I wouldn't want to play it all the time. 6 out of 10.
I'm giving this one a 7. I gave a 6 out of 10 to the original printing of this, the first version, let's call it. Didn't like that one as much. I think this one is a solid improvement, honestly, across the board. I think it looks better. It's a better box. It's a better design. They've tightened up things. The scoring's more interesting. The game is still not tremendous. It went up, you know. It's a good educational style game. It's a fun, Racco-like card game. I would definitely bring this out and play it. But it is not going to set my world necessarily on fire. I think it's an excellent, simply fun production.
It is.
For them. I applaud that they picked this up and reworked it. Because I think for that alone, it's a huge success. And if you are looking for games that fit this category, that like educational, dipping a toe in that, you should probably pick this up. I do recommend it for that.
Well, there you go, folks. That is Time Jumpers. And HUND, and 5 Towers, and this, and Lindyhop. Of these games, my favorite is, well, probably 5 Towers, actually.
Really? Well, my favorite is HUND.
Yeah, so there you go. I can't really say there's a lot of... They're all different.
They're very different.
Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
Have fun doing a Lindyhop across the
oh, hey. Cross dancing.
Being chased by a dog. Okay, we're done.